Hi, I'm Judy Malika with Friends of Delray, and today we have the good fortune of having Tom Carney, Delray Beach Mayor, with us. Tom, welcome. Congratulations on becoming the new mayor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey, what has your biggest challenges to date been? And were there any surprises for you?
Well, I come from a little different background. I had been actually on the city commission before, 12 years ago. Before that, I had been on the CRA. Before that, I was on the Housing Authority, so I always had a lot of interaction with the city. And for the last 10 years, I have been on the other side of the dais representing clients with various matters in front of the city. So there's not a lot of surprises, I would say. I understood how the city worked, although once you get into it and see it more, you see ways where it can be improved and things can be made more quickly, quickly answered, more efficient in terms of how they get to the answers, to make the City Hall a little more customer friendly, which I think it desperately needs. And surprises, they have had some very quick responses to stuff. When we wanted to close 7th Avenue, it was almost immediately the city came in and agreed to it. We closed 7th Avenue in Palm Trail. So, but we have such a great staff, and I keep saying that to people. I can disagree with them on nuances, but we really do have a very great staff. And when you have a great staff, it's a lot easier to work with them and to work through whatever issues you could have. So I'm very pleased overall with the city. I'm pleased with the staff. And frankly, I'm pleased with, and we have a very unique situation here. We have a much higher degree of citizen engagement than in most communities, which is actually good. I mean, I get a ton of emails on a variety of subjects, and subjects you don't even think about, but it does give we sitting on the dais some opportunity to understand what everyone else is thinking out there, because we have limited agendas, and we think about this, but then there's this other issue very important to somebody that you learn, and it's really gratifying when you can help them.
That's wonderful. I always thought that there should be like an ombudsman or somebody at the city. So when you come up with a code problem or a building problem, whatever, somebody can walk you through it. For those of us that don't know everything, right? This kind of an idea.
I have heard that they're very happy with the person we now have in the front desk, or when they call the commission office, the person we have representing us there answering the phone is really very good at pointing people in the right direction, and I've had very good feedback on that process. And that doesn't mean we can't improve, but I think our website is sometimes challenging to use. Even for me, I can't find stuff that I know is there.
If you dig deep enough, you can find it.
Yes, I know.
But you got to dig.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think you should make people have to dig that deep to find out what they want to find out.
I see, yeah. Well, quality is a moving target, right?
It is.
So speaking of quality, you've mentioned doing a strategic plan, Vision 2035 or so.
Yep.
What are you thinking about that? How will citizens be involved? When? I think you're already putting that in motion. When's that going to happen? And how will that affect what relationship to the comprehensive plan?
Way back when, people forget that this whole visioning process, the Visions 2000, came up with the idea of the Pineapple Grove Main Street. And it proved to be a great success. And when I was on the commission last time in 2012, 2013, we did Visions 2020, which again, a lot of the measures have been implemented by the commission. And this with 2035, the process has started. We are in the process of engaging a company that has also done our other work for the city.
So like your session that you had when you guys first got your goal setting, right?
Correct, the goal setting session. They did that. But they've also do visions, and they've got a whole resume of all the places they've done this for. I looked at what they did yesterday through the whole contract. My whole thing is I would like to have a simpler process. I want to have a steering committee established, which we did last time. I think we had each commissioner chose 3 or 4 or 5 people, I don't remember, who got the commission, who got the, are you making a pitch? Okay.
Just raise my hand in case you need something.
We'll take it under advisement.
Thank you.
But who helped, as a group, develop the agenda, the items that were important to the city at that time. And then from that, we had 125 people that were then in a much more expansive group. We met for a day, 10, 12 tables. Everyone had, the pads out developing the visions, and then they took all that back, extrapolated a report, and we came with what we thought the Visions 2020 should look like. It will be different this time. I think that there is a sense that we want to have a broader engagement, which we could do through the internet, through social, through virtual attendance at some of these meetings, which we did not have before. So I'm excited about that. I don't know how it will work because, I'll be honest, I'm not a high-tech person. I have to make an icon that I can snap.
You could even do surveys or whatever to citizens.
Correct.
Right?
I think that, staff has a role, but the reality is it's not staff's vision for the city. It's the residents' vision for the city. And staff plays an important role helping you fashion how to achieve that.
Of course.
But it really is, for me, it's really getting the citizens involved. And when I ran for office, I talked a lot about citizen engagement. And I have been having, and I guess everyone knows, I've been having a series of meetings with different parts of the community to learn, what their issues is. I met with the people in Osceola Park. I met with the beach. I met with Palm Trail. I continue to have these meetings with the local community to find out what their issues are. Surprisingly, they're all different. The issues that confront the beach are very different than Osceola Park. It's very different than Palm Trail. And you try to see, how they all blend together and how you can make everybody happy. And some people will be happy and some won't. Yeah. But what I am learning is one size doesn't fit all, because in some communities they don't mind, for example, that you do swale parking. In other parts, well, they really think that's horrible to do swale parking. So trying to create a regulation that's going to appeal to work in each individual neighborhood is the challenge.
I bet, yeah. You and the commission had decreased the millage rate in taxes paid this year.
We did.
Next year is probably going to be challenging with budget exercise, with cutbacks in federal funds. I don't know if that will affect us. One-time funding disappearing, state elimination of funding for not-for-profits, ongoing inflation, et cetera. What are your initial thoughts about the budget process now? And
where we were last year is very different than where we were today, and there's no question there's going to be a lot of other financial challenges, and inflation is certainly playing a big role in that. Insurance costs are up. Everything is up. But what we're going to be able to do this year, which we could not do last year, is we are going to look at a very different budget when it's presented to it. It's going to be far more detailed in terms of each category, which allows you to look at those categories and see what the spending should be or what it should be, and allow you to cut. The previous budget that I looked at, we were faced with last year, which was done before I was there, so I'm not pointing out what it should have been, but there were far more broader categories, and it's very difficult to cut when it's administrative expense.
I think that's brilliant. I've looked over the budget, and you're like, well, what does that whole bucket mean? So you're talking about making it a little more specific.
I told them they're going to make it really granular for me. Okay. And this fellow that we have now, Dokowitz from Connecticut and New York, is used to preparing, because up north they do prepare those kinds of budgets, and they really are that detailed. I remember when I was talking about what I really wanted, I had in front of me the 2012-2013 budget, and I opened it up, and I just did this, and the line item was pest services at the city attorney's office. That's what I want.
That's good. That's nice to see.
But I'm just saying, that was the line, so we knew that's how detailed it got.
It should almost be by department,
and it allows us, and we're going to do something very different this year. We're going to have our first budget presentation with the scope done in March, and then in April and May and June, we are going to be having the various departments come in front of the commission and tell us two things: what they have to have, what they'd like to have. So we will start the process a lot earlier, so that we can understand better. But when I was there before, I keep saying when I was there, but I was used to reviewing budgets where we would go line by line. And it took us 2 months to do it, a series of workshops to go through line by line, so we understood what everything was. I think we're going to get back to that sense, and I think most people will be able to look at what is important and, as I said, what we have to have and what we'd like to have. Everybody wants to fill the wish list. But we have to make sure that we have what we have to have in place first, and so that services aren't affected, public safety is not affected. You know, we have enough money to fix our roads, we have enough money to do the infrastructure, other infrastructure things we need to do. Those are the responsibilities of government. All this other stuff, while pleasant, really isn't the responsibility of government. And you try to do them, but you have to get the core stuff done first. And I think we're going to be, and I'm not predicting where the taxes are going to go, but my guess is when you have the amount of tax increases that we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, that there's not some items in that budget that we're going to be able to address on an individual basis. And I think,
Well, millage has decreased every year. I know property values went up, and so,
right.
right?
But yeah, I understand the argument, but
Right.
that's not a real reduction in taxes.
I understand.
And, you know, if your property value goes up 10% and you give me a 1% break, I'm paying 9%
There's a
more.
9%
So
increase.
what I'm
Right.
saying is that unless everyone really feels that they got a 9% increase in their benefits for the dollars, so that's really what I focused on. But I'm not,
That's then.
that's then. Now we're going to be looking at the budget. We're going to look at it on a very, very, you know, under a microscope to try to see, as I said, what we have to have, what we'd like to have. And with that, I'm confident that we will find the money we need. We're expecting about a $3 million increase in our ad valorem revenues over last year.
I'm sorry, say that again.
About a
What?
$3 million, it should be about a
Okay.
$3 million increase in our ad valorems.
Okay.
Not like it was before, where we had 10
Right,
and
well,
things.
it
It's
was
just,
huge,
you know,
right.
we had
It's-
all these. So it's going to be 3, which is a reasonable amount, and I think we're going to be able to measure what we want to do within that, in that number. And my hope is that we're going to be able to pass on some savings to the taxpayer yet again.
Good, good. You and the commission have tackled some major issues in Delray, like education, historic development.
Yep.
What's the status on some of these issues?
Well, education, it's funny. I came into the city and I immediately started asking questions about, you know, what we're doing with respect to education, because we have within our comprehensive plan 2 separate sections that deal with education. And I wasn't seeing any of those items being specifically addressed. And I have asked for, and I think it's finally coming, where we're going to be actually having a commission meeting where we're going to be looking at the 2 parts of the comprehensive plan to see what we still want and what we don't need.
Okay.
We had, I don't want to say that we would just kind of let the school board say, you know, what they think we should have, but we kind of let the school board say what we did without
Yeah.
us giving
You're
direct
absolutely
input
right,
back.
yeah.
And some of the interlocal agreements were kind of not being enforced as the way they should have. I bring to the full service center that we talked about, the Delray Service Center that we talked about at the school campus, there was the school board was supposed to put up $10 million to fix the campus so we could have this service center.
Okay.
This, by the way, is designed to create education for, you know, cooks,
Right.
electricians.
Right.
I mean, these kinds of jobs where people can go to this institution, get a certificate or whatever they call it, diploma, and then be able to actually be engaged in a number of other
Gain
industries.
employment.
And that has been laid for 4 years. We've not done anything.
I've been to a couple of those meetings, and I knew.
And you see what my point is. I've been really, the city kind of dropped the ball on that. And I'm trying to raise the issue again because
Okay.
I think it's a very important part. If I can get that place back up and running where we really are creating these kinds of educational opportunities so that it's going to create jobs, then that's a win.
That's a real win.
So you've been to the meetings. You know I've raised the issue a number of times. I just don't want to hear what the school board tells me.
You want to make it right.
I want to be an equal partner. I want to advise the school board what I think we need them to do for us. And we're a big funding source for the school board, of course. And if we do that right, it should translate into better schools for Delray, because everyone talks about the grades of the school. I measure a school by how the kids are doing. And, you know, I want schools get higher grades because their facilities are improved. But if the test results aren't improved, I think most parents would agree. I'd rather have better test results than an additional swimming pool or additional gymnasium or, you know. So that's what I'm trying to push.
Well, when you talked about the jobs, I wonder what the city is doing in terms of diversifying the tax base and attracting economic development.
You know, it's funny when we were talking about historic, and I'll discuss historic if you want. The historic items have been used to revitalize areas. And I said the other night, I said, well, you know, I don't really think Atlantic Avenue needs revitalization. I think it needs preservation, but it doesn't need revitalization.
Right.
You know, the city is, I agree that there is more we need to be doing about creating some incubator space and things for some of these small businesses to have an opportunity to start and then flourish. And, you know, we have some parts of the community where I think that would fit. And I don't think we are truly doing enough in terms of economic development than we should be doing. I think our Office of Economic Development needs to broaden its scope in terms of trying to attract people into the city than what they're doing at the moment.
Okay, all right. Well, Sunday Village is about to have huge commercial space of like 60,000 square feet, and it's 70% occupied. So
Yes.
some people are coming in. I don't know if they attracted them or if the city attracted them or if the DDA, but they're here or they're coming.
Let's face it, Delray is a great spot to be. I mean, yes, we've had All-America City Awards, most fun town in America, all these wonderful things.
Right.
But there is a vibe in Delray Beach that really isn't felt elsewhere, even just by our immediate neighbors. You know, having the I-95 go from, having your Atlantic Avenue go from I-95 all the way to the beach is a totally different dynamic. Nobody has this. And Delray has been very good. And I think it's largely due to the citizens. I flippantly say we've had more citizen engagement than most places, but that has counted. That has accounted for a lot of our success.
It kind of made the growth happen,
It
right?
made the growth happen.
Yeah.
We were careful about how we did Pineapple Grove. We're careful about how we treat our beach. We want to make sure that there's always a good beach. We're very careful in making sure that this is a place that we want to live, and as a result of that, it's attractive for other people who want to live. And we've been very lucky that way.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky. And I wish I could, you know, and I give credit to some of the past commissions. They've done the city has done a great job in moving itself forward.
And becoming
what we see, and it's going to improve. It's only going to improve.
Good, good. Could you give us the pros and cons of designating downtown as a historic district? You touched on that earlier. I just wanted to delve a little deeper.
Well, we all agree, and I campaigned on this, but we all agree that the jewel of Delray Beach is Atlantic Avenue. It has to be preserved. There's different ways to get to where you want to go. I watched where everyone was trying to say, well, it has to be a historic district, which has a whole different set of rules, whole different board, a whole different property owners view that as very different. And it scares a lot of them because they feel that they have property rights. So my goal in trying to, and I think we have done it, we have proposed what's called the Conservation District. This Conservation District has worked in St. Augustine, it's worked in Savannah, places which really have, you know, historic, and Savannah has historic next to conservation. And the whole goal of a Conservation District is to recognize that historic properties are different, non-historic properties are different, but you want to keep the look, the feel, the charm, the scale, everything. You want to keep what makes Atlantic so attractive
There.
but understand that people have, you know, certain property rights. I think what we have done with this conservation district is to do just that. We are going to try and control, you know, what the facades look like. You know, most developers don't care about the facade.
Right.
I mean, we all think it's a big issue.
They're making the money
but,
inside,
I mean,
not
if,
outside.
If you tell a developer, we want it to be blue, they'll do it blue. You want it to be pink, they'll do it pink. They don't care. They want to do their property. So being able to control the facade so that it looks, you know, like it's all part of the continuous, as it's always been, was important to me. The same with the aggregation of properties. That was the biggest single issue when I would talk to people about what are you worried about? Well, they're worried about another Worthing
Big,
Place.
huge,
They're worried
right.
about something coming in,
Right.
buying 3 or 4 properties, getting a new once you have
Mm-hmm.
that kind of frontage, you've got a new set of rules coming into place. So my goal was to say, well, if we're going to aggregate, and I don't know how it's going to eventually fall, and we're going to have lots of discussions with the property owners, but in one of the meetings that I had with some of the property owners, they understood the aggregation, and what my view was, if you're going to aggregate properties, I think if you're going to look at it, I think you need to make it look like they're different properties, not all one big block.
Because it's so eclectic
Right,
right now.
and one of the property owners said, well, it's more expensive to do it that way. And I said, well, would you rather do it than not do it? They said, well, we'd rather do it.
Good point.
So, it can be done, and it is done in other places. And my goal is to preserve Atlantic Avenue, preserve the look, the feel, the charm, but I don't want to take away anyone's property rights, and I don't think I need to. And by the way, people can always opt in. If they decide they want to be historic,
They can.
They can be historic.
Because there were a few that
'Cause there
were
are some
contributing,
Yeah,
and
there
some
are-
that weren't contributing.
Right, and because we have and it's interesting because I know that they said, well, during the campaign, the vast majority of people said they wanted historic. And then, some of you heard that said from the dais the other night. And interestingly, we got, because there was a call to arms by the Historic Preservation Trust, write your commissioner and tell them what you think. So we got all these letters. I wrote back to them, and I said, we all want to preserve Atlantic.
Of course.
But my issue is, do I want to impose a set of regulations on properties which are not historic?
Which maybe that means like I have to have a certain type of glass.
Correct.
You
But
have
it's
to
a
have a
different
certain
process
type-
of approval. It's a wholly different process.
Okay.
And the majority, the vast majority, wrote back saying, oh, well, we understand that the non-historic properties should be treated differently.
You can't have it all.
Right. So, but they
Okay.
don't want it to become,
Yes.
a monstrosity. That's what that's what the whole concept of conservation district is.
So within the conservation district, you could create LDRs that would speak to the aggregation or the rules about that. Is that accurate?
Well, it's interesting. A former city manager, David Harden, and I went through this, and it was his idea originally
Okay.
at a meeting we held back in, I don't know, September, October,
Okay.
where I had a bunch of the property owners there. And he's the one who came up with this concept of a conservation district, and he pointed out, and he had documents from different places that have done it. And I have tremendous respect for him, and he's also a preservationist.
And a Rotarian.
And a Rotarian, well, I'm sorry, I'm a member of Kiwanis, and, that's okay. One day you'll be able to apply for Kiwanis, and that'll be fine. We may take you. But the concept is to conserve, to make us look like things were always there.
Right.
And that's possible to do without putting people through a very burdensome process, which is what the historic district designation gave. Ultimately, both methods will preserve. Mine just,
Is less restrictive.
well, it's not less restrictive because you're still going to have to make sure that you meet facades. We already have in place, and David Harden said, we already have almost
Yeah.
so much in place already.
do.
We already
We do.
limit height.
Right.
We limit, density. We limit so many different things. People can't take down a property there without being subject to the new parking rules. So it's very easy to say, well, we're going to tear this down. But
When you build it, you're
if
not going to be able to do anything
if you
with it.
can't park it, you
Right.
can't, you
Right,
build an
right,
empty
right.
structure. So we had a lot in place to already start. What we didn't have were the things to cover aggregation, which, by the way, is not in the historic district rules. These are things that were not in historic district rules.
Okay.
You can aggregate properties in historic. Mine was, I was very careful the way we worded it, because I don't want to take away people's right to buy things.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that whatever they do, it looks like,
They don't make it look like a
yeah,
monstrosity.
it looks like they're different things.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and so far, everyone has been pleased with it. We put in place, Thursday? We put in place Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
A zoning in process to essentially say that, to capture some of the things that we brought up that we wanted in the conservation district, to say, we are, as of Tuesday night, we're not going to let you tear down a building, we're not going to let you change a facade, we're not going to let you aggregate until such time as there are rules in place.
So it's
So-
frozen for a minute.
We're pausing that, what people can do there, so we
Okay.
have time to figure out what the ultimate regulation
It's not like
is.
they're all waiting to knock buildings down or aggregate.
As I
but
said,
just in
I
case.
think the threat of taking down a building is not
Nothing.
terribly realistic. Everyone says,
Right.
well, they could tear it down and build this. Well, they got to be able to park it. But if you have the right aggregation rules,
Mm-hmm.
that was almost taken off the table, because
Okay.
if I'm requiring certain things the way it should look, then
Mm-hmm.
they just can't tear things down because they own 3 buildings and build, another Worthing Place. And I like Worthing Place, nothing, no, not,
Right,
but,
right, but that's not what we want on the app.
but that's not what we want on the
Okay.
Ave.
Okay, thank you. Well, I know you have a birthday celebration to
I
get
do,
to.
for my daughter.
And I have a lot more questions, but you know what? We'll hit that next time. But I thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Okay, my pleasure, anytime.
Thank you. I'm Judy Malika. Please let your voices be heard, get engaged, talk with neighbors, and attend city meetings. And watch for our next podcast or video. We believe Delray is at its best when we're stronger together. Rap!
That's what I said.
It's just another beautiful day. When it's time to get away, take A1,